And then I'm going to turn off the screen, otherwise we'll hear an echo. Okay, so stop that all. Okay, live on YouTube, and I have to click on recording. Okay, welcome everybody. On behalf of Angelique and Ellen, and I see some beautiful people there that we know from our community, from the Dr. Joe community, and from our online presence and our online games. We want to welcome Anouk Bindels, who is one of the top trainers in the NeuroChange Solutions organization. And for you who don't know who she is, she'll explain a bit more, but very quickly, what is Conscious World Club? Conscious World Club is just a social club that Ellen and I set up because we were in Amsterdam and we were a little bit like bored by all the big events that you can go to every weekend where you're just listening to lots of music and people talking about the weather and politics. And we just thought, well, wouldn't it be amazing if we could have events where people can go deep, where you can connect and talk about things that really matter to us, which is personal development, growth, you know, quantum physics, parallel dimensions and whatnot, and future potential and things like that. So Ellen and I started organizing little events online and offline. And of course, we are personal development addicted. So both of us attend a lot of workshops, and then we want to share, you know, the amazing stuff that happens. So Ellen is going to be the moderator tonight. And so if you have a question, please type in a question into the chat. And if Ellen, if you believe that we have an amazing question, please raise your hand, because if it is very relevant for the discussion that we're having, we're going to unmute you, and then you can unmute yourself, and then you can basically, so that we don't have like a discussion and suddenly a question that's relevant 15 minutes later. Okay, so we're here to serve the community, and basically why I wanted to talk about this subject is I started studying Dr. Joe since he wrote his first book. And his first book is really difficult to read. It's super geeky. It's like, you know, lots of things about the brain and things like that. And ever since then, I always followed him, you know, really did his meditations, went to his advanced retreats. But somehow I never made the connection with my business. And I think business event was in, it says my internet connection is unstable. Anyways, when Dr. Joe's business event was in Amsterdam, I thought, wow, this is an amazing opportunity for me to actually go there and actually understand how can we apply his teachings into a business setting. And to my surprise, I just was astounded by the amazing results. You know, there were some companies that were even like increased their revenue with 45%. 45%, you know, it's a lot, like that's almost 50%, right? So I was thinking, wow, you know, we need to know more about this, and we need to know more about how people like us, you know, small, medium entrepreneurs, small, medium enterprises, to maybe self-employed people, to maybe people working in big corporates can access these teachings, and how can they sell it to their organization. So we found Anouk Bindels, who's one of the most senior and most you know, most famous, I think, Dr. Joe testimonials, ready to actually talk to us. And the first time I heard of Anouk was actually at a little workshop in Holland. We thought it was a big workshop, but now we know it was a little workshop in the middle of Holland. And Anouk was on the stage. And I have to say that I still have goosebumps when I think of that testimonial, because it was so shocking. The testimony of Anouk was so shocking and at the same time so hope-giving. And I literally, I know that I just went to Anouk after that testimony and I said, oh my God, you're so inspiring. And it's just so amazing what the meditations can do for us. So in the meantime, Anouk, apart from, you know, having been really being a living example of the truth, as Dr. Joe would say. She also joined as one of his corporate trainers, and she's also one of the team leaders in a lot of his advanced trainings. So I would love to hear from you, Anouk. How did you get involved with Dr. Joe? And a lot of us know your story, but a lot of us here probably have never seen you live on a interview. So please share with us.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for giving this platform to me and inviting me. So I welcome also all of you there on the other side. I don't see you, I don't know you, but through Angelique, I get the opportunity to share something about our very valuable work, as well as in companies, as well as for individuals. As you said already, Angelique, it's about personal development. And ever since I got my experience with this and how it brought me onto my path of self-healing and self-improvement, and I could never stop. I cannot go back anymore. So what is very important for me to tell you is that, I was one of the persons that had to encounter crisis to be inspired to change. But it doesn't need to be a story like mine. As Dr. Joe says, you can also change through inspiration instead of suffering. And but I was forced to change. My story in depth, you can read in Becoming Supernatural. Dr. Joe prescribes my story and describes the whole teaching along with it. I'm in the first chapter. It's the story about Anna, and that's my story, and that was me. I'm not that anymore, as you can see. I'm sitting here and I'm evolved much further over the years, and I would love to tell you that that story changed my life. But what changed, of course, more was how did I get out of it. So instead of going into the story in depth, which is of course my past me, I would like to talk about how to imply this knowledge in your life, and maybe also a little in how to implement this into your working life, because it changed for me on both sides. It changed my personal life and my working life very much. And the question you asked me is, when did I become one of his Dr. Joe's trainers? That was in 2016. And I came to know Dr. Joe in 2011, after I had my diagnosis and the whole story that went before that. And I was really, the moment I encountered this work, I was a physical wreck, an emotional wreck, and a mental wreck. And I had no idea where to go. And yes, I went to one of his seminars thanks to somebody who inspired me to go there. And I stayed that whole weekend in this workshop. And I gained the first concept that Dr. Joe is talking about, also in his NCS NeuroChange Solutions corporate training. Your personality creates your personal reality. And your personality is built on all your experience till now, and all the things that you have ever thought, all the feelings you ever had, and all the actions you ever took till that moment. I never knew that that defined my personal reality. So when he spoke those words, my psychological brain, because of course I'm a psychologist, I'm a psychotherapist, a family psychotherapist, I'm a coach, I'm a full trainer. And those words were like, whoa, my personality is created by me, how I think, how I feel, how I act. And all the experiences I have create a certain emotion. And an emotion is an end product of an experience. So when I have this experience and I start thinking according to this, it will drive me into the same old habitual thinking, feeling, and doing. And he asked us to look at our lives from that moment. And I did that. And then I could see, oh, this is me. And as I told you in the beginning, I was really thinking and feeling and acting in very negative circles because I was traumatized by an experience. That experience left a very deep impact in my emotions. And that drove me into my behavior. And that actually done for a few years created a state of being in which I was acting like a victim, in which I was feeling emotional and angry and frustrated and left and betrayed, and in which I was thinking in a very negative cycle all the time. And then there was this man explaining to us that if we do this, our brain goes into a certain state. It creates certain networks in our thinking, feeling, and acting. And these networks keep on firing and wiring together. And that sends a signal to the body, which is a very incoherent signal. And after a while, if you keep on thinking and behaving like that and feeling the same emotions all over, you have chemically conditioned your body to be in a certain state. And that state creates your reality. Wow, that was big knowledge, right? Like scientifically explained with the brain and body science that when your brain is a chemical language, sending it to the body, and your body starts behaving and feeling according to that.
What is surprising, Anouk, is because you were in psychology, you were a trainer, etc. But literally, if we look back now, because we've been studying Dr. Joe for so many years, it feels like we know this. But actually, when he came out with that information, it was quite new, right?
It was quite new. Now, in the meantime, neuropsychology has informed us, right? Neuroscientists have informed us. But you know, you have to know I'm a behavior scientist. And I'm a cognitive behavior therapist.
Yeah.
And in cognitive therapy, we talk about this thinking, feeling, behaving cycle and the habitual way of thinking and feeling in a certain way and acting in a certain way. But we never had it explained so scientifically from brain science. And this is where this program comes in, because it's a very scientific based program on neuroscience. And not only that, it doesn't give us only the theory. Dr. Joe explains us also how to change, how to use that concept that we use in neuroscience, which is called neuroplasticity, how to use that and self-direct your neuroplasticity. Because you can learn self-directed neuroplasticity and you can coach your brain to do something different. And that is not something that we learned in psychology, because we never talked about brain science in psychology or behavior science. Now these fields are emerging. Now these fields are coming together. But 9 years back when I started this was new. And still, if we pull it into companies still, they are getting it now slowly. But till I started in 2016, I didn't know companies as well. And in the meantime, I've trained a lot of companies and teams and individuals in organizations to have a solid base, scientific, proven change program, which gives us sustainable change. And that's why I love it.
I remember from the Amsterdam event that Dr. Joe was talking about that so many years ago, people were very cautious when they mentioned meditation. So they had to use the word mindfulness.
Yeah, or mental rehearsal.
Yeah, mental rehearsal or, visualizing or something. But basically a few years later, and everybody's talking about meditation, and he was even surprised by it. But I can imagine me coming from the corporate world, being in big organizations that are very quiet. They have a lot of they have a lot of concern about their image. I even heard of a company, a big bank, that is working with the Dr. Joe team, but they don't want the outside world to know that they're working with it.
I know that bank.
So my question is, and our question is, how do you approach a company and while sensing maybe their concern for their image and maybe also their curiosity? What is the, how would you actually be able to come into big organizations? Or is it, or are there just people that just say, well, we had amazing results, no brainer, we're going to come in, bring them in, we want those results?
You see, I think it depends on how you bring it and what is the question from the company. Like, I've trained in different companies and I'm allowed to use a few names, and they all had their pain points and they all want to change very badly.
Yes.
So when a company wants change, they can look into different programs, right? Because they're looking into what can bring me that change that I ask or that I need.
More sales, more
Yes,
people, the best
exactly.
leaders want to stay with us.
Yeah.
We want to retain people. We don't want to be surviving.
Yeah, but it's also a lot, like I was in Cozen, which is a big agro and food company. And Cozen wanted their team leaders to be better leading their teams. And they wanted it into a leadership program. And I was sitting with one of the trainers that was already in the company, and I showed her the program. Then I invited her in 2017, you come and see Dr. Joe for yourself in Amsterdam. I organized a progressive there, and I invited her and a few other people that I knew that were interested in change in their company. And they came and listened to the stuff and the basics from the progressive. And then I went in there and had a nice conversation, a coffee or tea or lunch with them. And then I showed them this beautiful book we have, Change Your Mind, Create New Results. It's a full color workbook. And I show them, this is how we work. This is what will be beneficial to your team. If you want leadership, what is a very key concept of the work is emotional intelligence. Do you want more emotional intelligence? Then you have to talk about the brain, because the brain is involved in emotional intelligence. Why, they say. And you explain them a little about this chemical part of the brain, the limbic system. And when you explain that, they get a little interested and hooked. So then you do a pilot. I said, I can offer you a pilot in the company. And then I did a pilot, and I did that year 3 pilots. And they all were enthusiastic about the pilots. So then they said, okay, let's talk about how we can incorporate this into our own leadership program, because we want this into leadership. We want more emotional intelligence, more self-managing persons, more differentiated emotionally than what is happening outside of them. Because this program teaches you that. It teaches you to self-regulate, to self-manage, to really differentiate when out there is a different emotional reaction, and to look into their own behavior through this method of investigating the self and the personal reality they are living in. And nobody wants to experience pain. Nobody wants to have a bad working situation. Everybody deep down wants to improve their behavior. And if you go in like that, not judgmental, but just say, hey, there's something out there that can help you improve yourself. And in improving yourself, you will improve your team, or you will improve the entire company. And then we started in Cozen, we started with the leaders of all the different sections,
Divisions.
because Cozen is a cooperation of agri-food, Downey's, Avico Potato, it's a big sugar beet union, it's a big cooperation. And they have a big technical company as well, which is investigating and doing all the technical stuff for them. And we did work with farmers. So in that, we did this whole leadership, and they improved. they got the knowledge, and they all said every time from the whole leadership training, this part about me, about the emotional intelligence, about this self-directed neuroplasticity, about how we can improve ourselves and not having the same emotional reactions all the time in this same situation. Because when they produce and how do you say, work with the sugar beets, there's a certain time that it's very busy, because the sugar beets come off the land and they have to really produce them. And all those teams have to work together as a smooth team, because it's a lot of work. And they wanted to do it differently this year. So we said, okay, therefore you have to have a different level of mind. This is the old level of mind. So how can you move to a new level of mind within the company and really see that everybody gets this, and that all of you are good leaders to lead this campaign through with this emotional intelligence and knowing and understanding about your future outcome. And so it was not so much on production, but more on human outcome, on how to improve the outcome of people working together. And we really gained so much wisdom in that company. And then they started asking me for a bank where farmers work with a lot. And then they started asking me for Avico potato for the factories. So it's this, how do you come in and when the company sees a result? And then also I trained a lot of individuals, because I do open trainings, and I started them through the Chamber of Commerce in Arnhem. And I'm part of a women's network, which is called the Academic Women's Network. And it's a network which is very active in Arnhem. And they asked me to come and lecture for the Chamber of Commerce. And there I spoke about Change Your Mind, Create New Results program. And then they asked me, can you do open training for us, for entrepreneurs, for business women who just start the business, and teach them this, that when they have, because this program is also about how to create a new future for yourself. It's behavior, it's emotions, but it's all about to create a new outcome, leave the old behind and create something new. So, of course, when you start your own business as an entrepreneur, you have a vision, you have an idea, a dream, but you still maybe don't know how to get there. And doing this program gave these women all a good vision, because we worked with them also through a plan afterwards. It gave them all a good vision and a mission-driven change to their future. Because some of us don't know what's in our way of achieving a dream, or maybe if that's health, or a good running company, or a nice job, or a lover, or whatever, that it might be old patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving.
What really stood out for me was that, one of the critical teachings of Dr. Joe is about living in survival and creating from survival emotions and believing that that is normal.
Yes.
And then this new idea, which is living in a state of creation, which was, for me, was like, what is that? I need to understand what it is, and I want to master it. And but when he said that most companies, most organizations, and maybe even just people that run their own companies, when we think about money, when we think about targets, when we think about we have to make business calls or close a deal, we sort of trigger these very, primal fears. And then we stop trusting. That's what I remember from what Dr. Joe said. There's a lot of lack of trust. People are living in victimhood still. And then when that really affects the whole culture, then of course, you can see that people are not sharing information, they're not communicating well, and they're not even expressing maybe solutions that they might have, because they don't feel that they're going to be rewarded or going to be compensated for it. And so from that perspective, I was like, wow, just this little concept of his, this big concept,
it's a big concept.
That is a big concept, because so many people in our own companies or even relationships, let alone in businesses, we are living in a state of survival, and to bring them into a state of creation with the neuroscience, not even talking about meditation, just with the neuroscience, that was such a big eye opener for me. And I was like flabbergasted because I've been studying him for years, and I was like, oh, duh. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but exactly that was, of course, my state when I came to his work. I was living in a state of survival,
yes,
and my whole body was driven by these survival hormones. And
yes,
along with these survival hormones come the survival emotions. And
yeah,
those survival emotions are fear, anger, hatred, doubt, shame, guilt, hopelessness, powerlessness. These
yes,
are all the survival emotions. And once you learn how to change your survival emotions and elevate your state, you reach another level of mind.
mhm,
That is the only state from where we can create from. We can never create from survival state, because then we create always more of the same. And
mhm,
of course, me being not knowing what I know today did do exactly the same.
mhm,
And of course, I brought that to my workplace as well. Because what we are in our individual person, we bring to the workplace. If
mhm.
it's a big company, if you're a CEO or you are just the sweeper, it doesn't matter. It's we all bring our own personal stuff with us, and that was what we bring to our workplace as well.
Yes. What I also remember was that justice training provides individuals that might be quite polarized, may have a lot of resentment towards each other, a lot of ego games going on. But
Mm.
actually, once you start to take it out of the personal realm and you talk about chemicals, you talk about, stress hormones, that they suddenly have a language where
Absolutely.
they don't have to blame each other, but where they can see, wow, that I'm doing this, so this person is reacting that way. And we can just be a little bit nicer to each other, because all of us are trained to be in these unproductive neurological states. And what I really understood as well was that justice training provides people a common language, not to go into, yeah, but he's always so
Yes.
difficult, or
Yeah.
he's just like, I don't want to work with him because he always blah blah blah. But actually, really, people can actually start to talk in language that is beyond personality, but really connects them to go for change together.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
So
true, because once you know that we all are chemically programmed,
yes,
it doesn't matter anymore so much. But then when you have enough safety in the group to talk about what is it that you feel and what is it that you want to change about yourself in this team or in this company, then of course we can offer the change which is sustainable. And that is what people learn in this program. And so far, I've not had not one person that's been trained that didn't get it. And of course, it's how you maintain it. How do you
yes,
maintain it?
yeah,
In this program, you get 4 tools, which are very important to use. You get a few models, 2 models of change, and then you get 4 tools. And meditation is just one tool, but you get another tool which is helping you to coach yourself, to change your thinking, like to change seeing it in a certain way, and then to stop it, because you can self-regulate. You can stop your emotional reactions and shorten the refractory period of an emotion.
absolutely.
And that was something new for me. It
For
was
all of
something
us.
totally new for me, that somebody told me to self-regulate my emotions. Because most of us are, when it comes to emotions, I call it emotional incontinence. Because we just let go of it, right? And we let it go for weeks, months, years. Mine was a long refractory period for 4 years till I came to this work, in which I didn't even know that I was letting it run that much, and on and on and on. And now I know how to shorten it, and that's where the key concept of neuroplasticity comes in as well. and the metacognition that's needed. You first have to pull yourself out of it and look at yourself and see how you feel and how you keep it going. And I'm happy that I learned how to self-regulate that.
Yeah. So in terms of the companies or the organizations that work with you, how long does the program last, and how long do you
depends.
then get guidance?
You know the program, the Change Your Mind, Create Real Results program, I do deliver it always in 2 days. And because I find it so valuable, and to really dive into it, I take 2 days for it. When I teach it in companies, it's always customized in what the company wants. And in one bank, I did it for 6 days, which was a 6-day training into a program they developed together with me. So it was really a customized program. And in that program, it was a leadership program. In that program, Change Your Mind, Create New Results was built in for 2 days. And then I'm also training it for trained trainers in a training company, in a trainer's education. They get this knowledge, and it's also 2.5 days. And then they get a coaching afterwards to coach them in a certain while afterwards to really get it into their own personal life. So it always depends on the question of the company and what they want. What is their pain point, for example? Some companies really have pain points. And what do they want to change? Because I always bring it as a change program.
What were the biggest for you, even for yourself, surprising results? Maybe in terms of cultural change or personality change, or maybe even, outcomes in terms of productivity or revenue that you've seen with this work. And it could be, because there's many trainers all over the world. We've heard this case study about 45% revenue within quite a short time. And
you can imagine if all energy, all your brain creative energy that you have is stuck in survival, how much energy you have available to create something new? Not much. No. So if teams work in that way, they don't have much energy to enjoy and to create really something that gives engagement. Like what I have noticed in companies is there's always, when there are problems, it's always the lack of engagement from employees.
It's not my problem.
Exactly.
His problem. Oh, it's my boss's. Exactly. My boss is giving me this target. Why am I given this target? Oh my God! I wish I could be out of here.
Exactly. And that's when they have a high sick leave, because people start getting less engaged. Burnouts. Because they and the employee often doesn't know, is not aware of his own responsibility, that they own their own creation. So once when you start talking about owning a creation, a reality, and they start seeing, oh, this is my part in creating this reality for me, right?
This is my third job where I hate my job. Well, maybe it's me. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Then something starts changing, something starts improving. They get more like, motivation. See, you have to know that the brain is made for preservation, for keeping things the same.
Looking for danger.
Exactly.
Change is unknown.
Exactly. So, but if you start using brain coaching, which this program is for a part, you have to know this and tell them, hey, your brain doesn't like this.
It's not you, it's your brain. It's your amygdala, your survival mechanism.
It's your limbic system that doesn't want to change. And if you tell them there's good news, we found out in research that for the last 10 years, you can change. you have to see that you get people, and that's where I find you have to have a good training background to teach this, to motivate them, to get them to the point of motivation. Because we know, and I know that for years already as a behavior scientist, that to get people motivated to change, especially the intra-psychological world, is not so easy. Because we all know that it's not easy to change a habit, right?
Unless there's
Did
a
you change
huge
a habit
crisis.
yourself?
Well, yes,
Smoking or
it's
drinking
really
or
hard. It's
yeah.
really hard. Yeah, because it's like I'm trying to follow a certain vegan diet, and every day I find an excuse not to be vegan. So,
See, because your
yeah,
brain has programmed you in a certain way, the body has
yes.
become that. And to change that and break that cycle and these connections, it takes repetition.
Hmm.
It takes a lot of repetition to change something so
Hmm.
profound as an intra-psychological world, because it's a whole world in there, right? And the body has become the mind.
Yes.
So to change your mind and to create a new result, you have to not do it only once. You have to do it many, many, many times. And to train yourself, that's why it's also called a training, right? You see
Hmm.
yourself how you have improved. I know you from those days and see how we all have grown in studying this material over and over again.
Hmm.
I read the book Becoming Supernatural 3 times now. But every time I read a new book, you understand?
Yeah.
Because I understand different things. And that's how we grow and evolve. And that's why I love to train, because it's all the time new.
How can, because I know a lot of us are either self-employed, but some of us work in big organizations. How can people who work in big organizations create an opening to maybe talk about this in their own organization? Because most of us will know the pain points, but we might not be in the right position to address it. And I've been in many companies with lots of trainings, and some of them, I was in trainings where everybody was crying and things like that, because it was so
Yeah, of course.
confrontational.
Yeah.
So I think in Holland there's real culture of bringing people to trainings, and in the UK it didn't happen that much, to be honest. And so every country I think is different, but um, I think maybe should we start an discussion about maybe productivity or revenue that will be more easy to have for certain organizations instead of
You
talking
know,
about the pain.
I would say start living the change yourself and then inspire other people and say, hey, do you know there's this program? And that really worked. It worked for me. It changed my life. It will change the organization as well. And that's how I got into this Cozen program, because the person that came to Dr. Joe started seeing and feeling it herself as well, and then we started talking. And of course, I live this. I'm a living example, as you said in the beginning. I live this, I feel this, I breathe this. For me, this is my way of life. And to inspire people to go to change, you can talk about this program as being a very sustainable change program.
Mhm.
And if there's something that they want to change, based, and it's not only a change program, it's scientifically proven. It's based on neuroscience. So if people want to really bring this into their company, I would say, let them experience it themselves, do the program, go to the program where there's open trainings. There's lots of
Mhm.
trainers given open trainings. I know in the UK there are 3 that are delivering open trainings. In the Netherlands, there are now 5 new trainers. In Germany, I do train in Germany as well. And in France, I mean, there's now all over Europe and in the States and in the UK and in Australia, even in Singapore, there are trainers delivering also open trainings. So
Mhm.
you can really get to know it yourself. And then you can bring it into a company or talk about it.
What I was surprised by is that, I've done so many online life progressive workshops before Dr. Joe stopped doing them, and every time we had to do this exercise of change one thing, go for another,
exactly.
potential, etc. And but actually I never really did it for my business because I was so immersed in my own psychology of I have to change my personality first. And but the way that he explained the program, which I think is even quite new for all of you guys, is he really connected it to our purpose.
Yes.
And he connected it to all the different levels of motivation.
Of course, what outcome do you want to have? And then we can teach you how to create it. You understand? Because this is about creation as well. I told you before, this is about creating a new future. And but in going there, you have to understand where you come from. And then if you have a purpose and a mission, because every company has its purpose and its mission, right? I have an individual one and I have a business one. So if you can see what is your business motivation, mission, and purpose, yeah, of course you can connect those goals to them and then create them.
I know I see a few chats here.
Yeah.
Ellen, please, do you have some great questions that Anouk would like to answer?
Yeah, the first question is, are there meditations in the business trainings?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are.
And then we just got this one. I haven't been able to read it yet. Following the two-day business workshops that you run, do the companies instigate an ongoing culture of using meditation during the business day or follow up personal and leadership development using the program?
It differs. There is one company that uses the meditation because they use it as a way of culture in their company right now. And there's I also trained a beauty salon from Aveda, and they are using it in the company. They meditate together and they use it when they have a problem. They meditate, they do the exercises. So it depends. Like some employees use it individual. So they start using it and incorporating it in their own personal lives. And some teams start meditating together. So that depends. It all depends on where they go with the whole training afterwards, right?
All right. We also have a question from someone in Canada who's would love to get into contact with people with questions about this, if that's possible.
Yes.
That's something
she can go to the website of NeuroChange Solutions.
Okay. NeuroChangeSolutions.com.
Yes. And there is a map where all the trainers are situated and located. And she can come into contact with the Canadian and American trainers.
Okay. And then we have a question. If you reprogram yourself, do you need to take more nutritions for the brain?
This is a good question. This is a good question. You know, it depends. I'm very honest about it. I used to take, when I was in a sick state, my body was sick. I used to take supplements and I changed my whole nutrition. Of course, when you want your brain to function in an optimal way, it's always good when there's a shortage of vitamin Bs or whatever. But that is not what we talk about in this program. This is pure my individual way that I gained knowledge about how to improve my brain with more supplements and amino acids. But this is not in the training program. We don't talk about nutrition there.
And another question, what exactly happens in the brain when a belief is formed?
Okay, that's a good question as well. When a belief is formed, there's these neurons that fire and wire together. They form clusters, they form neural networks. Because as I said before, the end product of an experience is an emotion. And emotion is stored in the brain as a memory. And every emotion has a peptide that fits exactly onto it. Candace Pert, who wrote the book Molecules of Emotion, explains it into depth in her book. She was also in the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? And if you read that book, you come to know that our limbic system is a chemical system. Every time we feel something, we have a chemical that fits to it. And that chemical is produced in the limbic system, because the limbic brain is also called the chemical brain. And that it sends a signal to the body. And this is how we keep this circle going and networks form. The neural network is formed in the brain. And that will keep wiring and firing together every time we feel a certain emotion and we think a certain thought. Because body and mind work together, right? They're not separate.
I think this question quite relates to it. Is thought processed and stored by the brain, or only accessed by the brain from another place?
What is?
Is thought processed and stored by the brain, or only accessed by the brain from another place?
And what is thought? I don't understand the question.
Thought.
Thought. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I thought thought. Thought. Is thought processed by the brain?
Or only accessed by the brain from another place, like maybe from the field?
I don't know where thoughts come from. I don't know where they come from. They are there. And I think they come from the field. But that's my personal idea. I think that everything we thought is not of our own. It's just downloaded into our systems. And I'm also sure that thoughts are recycled. That because we see that all over the world. Actually, Carl Gustav Jung used to talk about this already. He used to say that thoughts is from the collective consciousness, and we, with our individual personal consciousness, download whatever fits to us in that moment. So yeah, thoughts is accessed. That's what I think. But connected with the body and the feeling, I'm sure that makes it individual. So our thoughts and feelings, because thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. So our thoughts and feelings are married together, right? One is not without the other. So universal thoughts, yes. Individual consciousness, yes. Downloaded into the system, and there it creates your own individual thought and thinking and feeling belief systems, concepts.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Another question, how to improve memory and focus to maximize performance?
Wow, that's a good question as well. I love that one. You know, how to improve is to start using your frontal lobe, the CAO of your neocortex, because we have three brains that work as a perfect harmony together. But the frontal lobe is where we have focus, where there's intention, where there's attention. That's where we actually reflect. That's our CAO, that's the leading part of our brain. So if you want to improve that, I would say start meditating. Because when you meditate, and I do meditate still every day, 2-3 hours a day, I never stop that. I meditate every day. And as you know, must know that I was taking chemotherapy and I had a chemo brain. And everybody told me in 2011, you will never improve this. You will stick with this brain forever. But now my brain is improved 1,000 times in using it. And meditation is a very good tool to use to improve the function of your brain, to get coherence back, which sends a coherent signal into the body. And when the body is coherent, then the brain works as a perfect symphony together. Of course, you have more focus because energy available, right? It's 10:30 in the evening and my energy is still up. You can raise your energy every time once you meditate. I meditated before this talk. So I wanted to be clear and focused. Yes, you
You
can
are.
improve your brain.
You are.
Very much so. By training it, by coaching it.
Anouk, I don't know, Ellen, are there more questions? Because I'm
There's a
just
couple more
looking at-
questions, yeah.
Okay, so we have 10 more minutes. We want to respect the time of Anouk and
Yeah. Okay. Well, since you were just talking about yourself meditating 2 to 3 hours a day, one question is, can you describe how you do your meditation?
You know, mostly I use Dr. Joe's guided meditations. And a meditation I do every day is blessing of the energy centers, because the energy centers that Dr. Joe prescribes are very important to harmonize the body and brain. And this is a very powerful meditation. In the meantime, he has 8 blessing of the energy centers. You can get them all on his website and download them. And you can start using these. These are all around 1 hour. And then sometimes I do just music from the meditations. And I do every day a walking meditation. So I walk every morning. I walk 1 hour and I'm outside. I love walking, and I do a walking meditation. And in the evening, I do a blessing of the energy centers. And sometimes I just walk with the music.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, there's one last question, so we might as well get them all. What can you do with the body to change beliefs faster or better?
What can you do with the body?
Yeah.
Okay. What can you do with the body? You see, like the body, you can do a lot of emotional work and body work with it. But what is only the body? I'm not sure that only you can do it only with your body. I think you have to do it with your body and mind, because those two work so closely together. But of course, the body keeps the score. The body keeps the score of everything that has happened to you. And there is certain experiences that happened before the pre-verbal cognitive phase in your life. If you have had things happen there, what is very good work is bioenergetics, is Alexander Lowe work, is really body and emotional release work, because then you cannot come there with your cognitive understanding, because it was pre-verbal. But if it's happened when you were 12 or 13 and 14, you can easily work with your mind and body together. And sometimes you need more things for the body, like yoga or stretching or sports or running or whatever. It's everything that keeps the body in a good shape and in a good vital energy. It works, if it works for you. There's not one way. But what I did a lot and what I do still a lot is yoga, which is very good for my body. So I don't know if it works for you, but yes, sometimes you need to work with the body and have emotional release in the body. And there's ways for that as well.
Good, those were the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 6 more minutes. I just really want to thank you, Anouk, for this amazing explanation. And I hope that the ones that are new to Dr. Joe's work actually really are encouraged to actually know more, because I think Anouk really made it as simple as possible. But really, I think if there are entrepreneurs here who would like to go to an open training, I know I've seen on Anouk, her website, anoukbindels.nl, I believe.
Yeah, NL and .com. .com is the English one, and NL is in Dutch. Yeah.
So the ones that are in Germany and Netherlands, Anouk has regular trainings in these countries. We have a lot of other trainers in other countries.
Well.
And if you want to become a trainer, there are some requirements there on the website of NeuroChange Solutions. So you can check them out yourself. And I think really this work is life-changing. So basically, if you want to do the work, feel free to maybe attend one of these open trainings and then actually really, follow Dr. Joe's, do his online progressive, and then find out for yourself, because to implement it in your business life, I think is really amazing. I just was, actually, to be honest, Anouk, when I went to the business training, I was like, oh, Dr. Joe's in Amsterdam, I'm going to go. But I didn't really know why I went. And literally when I went, and a lot of my friends from other countries, they flew over and we went together, I was like so flabbergasted. And I was like, wow, why did I never think of this? So I was so surprised by my ignorance about how NeuroChange solutions could work in my own business with my business goals.
But there I want to say something, Angelique, also, because you see, this business event also was the first business event ever, right?
Yes.
So I spoke to Lindsay a year ago about it, that how can we make this work that we do, which is so valuable in organizations, more visible into the world. And I said to her, we need actually Dr. Joe for that. Can you ask him, since she's the director, managing director, I said, can you ask him if he might be open for this idea? And I can host it in Amsterdam. I can find a nice place to do it. And let's do it like we did the Progressive. Why don't we do this event also for the trainers, and let Dr. Joe talk and explain about our work so that we become more visible also. And that's exactly what happened. So you are the proof for me that what we intended to do with this business event, that really is happening, that people become more aware, hey, there is, next to the personal individual development that Dr. Joe offers us, there's also this business training and for organizations, and that he has already trained now over 86 beautiful trainers all over the world, teaching his work into companies and organizations. And thank you for that. So it's good you came, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad I came.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I was always a bit, because when I'm one of these great fans of all the testimonials. So every time, of course, I love the testimonials of people healing themselves, because a lot of them are chronic diseases where doctors said we don't have a cure, blah, blah, blah. But I'm even more fascinated by the business results, or the ones where people sell their company or they have a business idea and suddenly Dr. Joe says you have to do these meditations, create this, and people come to them. And this is how Ellen and I run our business. Is basically we download, we don't think, we don't sit behind a computer and force ourselves. We just download. Whenever it comes, it comes. And we just felt excited about doing this thing with NeuroChange Solutions. So we just do it. And so I think the state of creation and business and companies, it's an amazing new insight for many
It's
people.
so beautiful. You say that. You say, we do our business like this. You are their living example as well. You do your business from the creative state. You create it. Instead of living in survival, you make a creation. These are your waves to the future, right? These are your waves to your future. This is great. I love that.
No, we have amazing ideas, and who knows how else we could collaborate or promote, amazing other worthy organizations. But I want to thank everybody for being here, and for
Me
the people
too.
who are listening to the recording, anoukbindels.nl or .com, neurochangesolutions.com. And of course, really feel free to reach out to any of the trainers, or, to really do the work yourself. And I want to encourage all of you. Dr. Joe is, I think, one of the, maybe 300 years from now, we'll look back and he's like the Leonardo da Vinci or the Nikola Tesla or something, and literally, I think a lot of, it's still so small, the group that we're in, we're so small. A lot of people don't even know him. But, if we do the work, people see us, reaping the benefits of not being that narcissistic, neurotic person anymore that I was, just like Anouk, I had a survival personality, and I'm very different now. And my friends are like, you're very different.
See, and that's where they got start to get curious about you. What did you do to get like this, to become?
You wake up at 5 a.m. to meditate every day. Are you really like, they think I'm crazy?
That's it. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, but it's absolutely worth it. Yeah, Ellen.
Can I read one last thank you from Edward Fitzgerald? He wants Anouk to hear this. He says, I rediscovered meditation while recovering from a brain injury, impact to right frontal lobe in June 2011. and was told after 1 year by neurologists that I had reached a plateau. I was bereaving the loss of my capabilities and functions. Something within my body, deep in my subconscious, said, no, don't believe, you will recover. And now I'm 1,000 times better. I was not aware of neuroplasticity until 3.5 years ago. So I really resonate with your story. Thank you for sharing.
Ah, this is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Edward. Thank you.
I have goosebumps, Edward. And literally everybody, those of you who are still struggling with the body, Anouk, her testimony is on the Dr. Joe Dispenza YouTube channel under testimonials. There's 2 versions, one Dutch, one English. She's also in the movie Heal. So you
I'm
can
Becoming
find her.
Supernatural.
Is that also a movie?
Yeah,
that's a book.
It's a movie on Gaia from Dr. Joe Dispenza, Becoming Supernatural.
Okay.
And that is also a movie in which I am.
Okay.
And there's this interview with on Mind Gourmet. I can send you the link as well. It's a nice interview as well.
We'll post it on our Facebook group called Conscious World Club. If you like our page, you can also ask to be added to the closed Facebook group called Conscious World Club Attendees. Then you get notifications when we actually post something or we create a new event. But thank you so much again, everybody. And just be the living example of the truth and really know that there's so much more possible that we don't even know until we start synchronizing our brain and tuning into the infinite potentials. So we're going to go
Lots of love.
Lots of love, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.